Hi, and welcome to a very special episode of a Made to Parade broadcast tonight. I'm the author of a book called Made to Parade, and my name is Glenn Miller, and I'm doing this broadcast as part of Good Relations Week, which aims to celebrate our journey and embrace our future by celebrating peace building initiatives and cultural diversity. And I wanted to do something around this and contribute to the week through a chapter reading from my book. Because whenever I think of the whole idea of peace building, it's a process of encouraging people to talk and repair relationships and facilitating understanding so that we can, learn how to live more better with each other and maybe make different choices in regards to our relationships with each other as well. So, one of the things that I did this year was that I released a book. I released a book called Made to Parade. And the idea behind the book was to bring about and foster a level of understanding in regards to the whole marching band culture in Northern Ireland. And I know sometimes it does get a bit of a bad rap, and it is potentially misunderstood quite a bit. And I wanted to write a book that provided a positive narrative by sharing my story about what happened to me whenever I joined a marching band in the early 80s and growing up on an interface where there was a lot of trouble and a lot of violence that I seen and experienced as a result of where I lived, and also how the band that I joined, the Pride of the Raven Flute Band, actually kept me away from getting involved in a lot of things that were happening in my area at the time. So for me, I wanted to read a part of a chapter of the book tonight, just as a means of trying to give me a wee bit of an insight into some of the, you know, maybe an issues in relating to parades and so on. And for me, one of the things um, that I wanted to get across in the book is that the majority of parades that bands are out on, um, are actually local based parades, competitions, charity parades, and things like that. And 99.9% of these parades happen in areas that the bands are from, and they're not necessarily controversial in any way, and they provide a great level of camaraderie and connection between the bond fraternity and so on. So the chapter that I'm going to read to you tonight it's called Trophies, Trophies, Trophies. And basically that relates to whenever I started walking with the flute band, that we were at a lot of these competitions that I was just mentioning. And and how it took up the majority of my week, So being out with a band on a Thursday night at practice, I would have been out parading at a competition on a Friday, Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, potentially a Sunday parade for church parades on a Sunday, and also a Sunday night practice as well. So the band really took up the best part of my week. And as I say, there's a tagline on the front of the book that says that whenever music became my passion, that the troubles lost their grip. And I suppose I wouldn't be an author if I didn't give my book a wee bit of a plug and a bit of a mention outside of the fact that I've written it, but also where you can get your hands on it if you're interested in reading the story. And the book is called Made to Parade, as I've said, and the Made to Parade is available on all Amazon sites. Paperback UK price is £10, and the ebook version is £9.99. And so, if you want to check that out, that would be great. And if you want to know more, or maybe trying to understand the band scene, and then pick up a copy of the book, and based on the reviews and things that it's been getting, you'll not be disappointed. So on with the chapter reading then. So as I said, I'm going to be reading this chapter that's called Trophies, Trophies, Trophies. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm going to read a good part of it though. And this is basically a connection to the story of me starting to walk with the band. All right. So this is chapter 9 in Made to Parade, called Trophies, Trophies, Trophies. The marching season was now in full swing, and I had a full calendar of events lined up. I mean, I was busier than a peeler at a rat. And once it's Thursday, my week takes off. Thursday night it's practice, and then Friday night we're usually out at a competition somewhere, and the same on a Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. And then there's the odd Sunday church parade as well as a Sunday night practice. So most weekends the band can be out parading 3 or 4 times. My main conflict was Saturday afternoons. That's when I usually went to watch Linfield play. For the last few years, I've been going to every match, home and away, without fail. Travelling to Windsor Park or somewhere exotic like Larne or Portadown to watch the Moody Blues, and well, I just loved it. I'd meet up with my cousins there and have a laugh, sing the songs and listen to the banter, and watch the game, of course, and most of the time, watch Linfield win. Losing was the worst. Dark clouds descended like the pigeons whenever my granny threw out stale O'Hara's bread for them, and I'd enter Sunday in a state of mourning. My ma never understood it. It's only a game, son, she'd say. Only a game, ma. Did you ever hear what Bill Shankly said? Football isn't a matter of life and death. It's more important than that. Losing any game was bad, but losing to Glentoran was the worst. Not just because they were our biggest rivals. It was because of the stick I'd take from my mates on the street and the odd person at school. Plus, I'd get raked at the band hall as most of the guys in the band supported the Clans. The worst was my classmate Barsey. His brother Barney actually played for the Glens, and if he had had a good game against the Blues, well, he wouldn't be a bit behind the door letting you know all about it. My school had a wee bit of a connection with Linfield as well. Geordie Dunlap, the Linfield goalkeeper, he had went to my school, and after he got his call up to the Northern Ireland squad by Billy Bingham, he gave one of his goalkeeper shirts to the school to frame, and it was hung on the wall just outside the school office. The thought that I wouldn't be able to go and watch the Blues every week was a wee bit disconcerting, but you have to make decisions and choices in life, and I had made mine. When the band was out on a Saturday afternoon, I'd be out with them, and if the band wasn't out, then I'd be at the match. And I'd take my trusty Linfield diary to practices with me, just to fill in the dates of the parades and the competitions and to keep a track of my schedule. See, being a true supporter and a bandsman requires commitment. And I've watched how the band members commit to everything the band does, and how my uncle and the Linfield supporters take the time to arrange everything to get people to the games. So why should I be any different? I needed to be organised. The amount of parades that the band got invited to seemed just to be endless. Every week, places like Corridor, Portadown, Ballymena, Coleraine, Omagh, Kilkeel, and Ballyclare beckoned us. Invites were brought up at the band meetings regularly. Now, we accepted most of them, providing we had the numbers to go, of course. This never seemed to be a problem, though. We had a good sized band, and that even if some members couldn't make it, well, we'd still be able to go and take part. For me, attending the parades is great. You always meet new people, or you run into someone that you know, but you didn't actually know they were in a band. Now, I really should clarify that these weren't parades with lodges, like Easter and the 12th of July. There were competitions that were organised by local bands to raise money, usually to help a band get new instruments or maybe even help towards buying a new uniform. And sometimes the money is collected for charity. The competitions are very popular, and the locals in the area always come out in force to watch the bands. And there's always wee stalls on the street selling flags and badges, basically anything you might associate with the bands. I always keep a wee out just to see if they've got any of the latest band tapes, and I always save some money just in case, because you never know when you might find a new one. And alongside the stalls, there's always wee burger vans and chip vans, although what the difference between a burger van and a chip van is beyond me. After the parade, no matter how long or how short, you're always in need of a wee Coke and a burger. And if I'm flush with cash, I'll splash out on a cheeseburger with onions and red sauce. Traveling to the competitions usually involves a bit of a bus journey, unless it's a local competition, of course. Then there's a similar routine for all these competitions. Arrangements for the travel are finalised a good week or so before the competition takes place. The band meets up at our band hall and waiting the bus arriving and the odd member being late. And if there's a potential for us to be back late, the band always gets in touch with my ma about the arrangement, just so she won't be worried. And as long as Alvin's there, she knows I'll be all right, and that the band always looks out for me. Bus journeys with the band are great crack. There's lots of laughs and retelling of old stories. about the times we've been at this parade before, and the usual talk about who else would be there, especially the other melody flute bands. When we arrive, the driver usually leaves us as close to the starting point as he can get to, in terms of what's been laid out in the invite letter. And that's not always possible due to the number of bands that are turning up. Getting a parking space or a big bus can be difficult. Now, once we all get off the bus, there isn't a lot of hanging around. You want to get formed up and get round the route. Once we're given a space to start from, the band captain who's in charge gives two short, sharp blows of his whistle, and like sheep being round up, we assemble into our rows. See, once you get assigned to your row in the band, that usually becomes your place for the season. And I suspect that if I keep growing and getting taller, I'm going to end up in a row further back. But for now, I'm in the front row of flutes. And once we're in position, the drum major brings us the attention and we wait for the parade steward's permission to make our way around the route. Before we move off, the captain usually gives us a wee bit of a pep talk. Right, lads, remember, this is a competition, so I don't want any chattering in between tunes, okay? There's going to be judges here watching our every move, so let's not do anything stupid. Oh, and no complaining about the tunes being called either. We want to win, so best marches will be called. Let's do our best and bring some trophies home. And with those words of wisdom ringing in our ears, the drum major would motion us to move off, and we were on our way. The band captain would call out the starting tune, 2 beats from the bass drum, then 2 5-beat rolls, and we begin our quest for trophies. I started to notice that at competitions that there was longer than normal gaps between one tune being called and the next. We were at a competition once in Corridor, and my curiosity got the better of me. Now, we weren't supposed to talk in the ranks, but I whispered to Stevie, "Why is it taking so long between tunes?" Stevie said, "It's just in case we run into a judge. You want to play your best tunes in front of them." So, how do we know who's a judge? Clipboards. What? Judges are on the footpath with clipboards. Now, the band captain had heard us talking. "Right, lads, that's enough. There's usually a judge up on this street here, so let's be ready." We returned to marching with purpose and arms swinging resolutely, arms with flutes by our side. And as we turned the corner just in front of us, there was one of these mysterious clipboard holders. "Dinah's Delight," declared the band captain. Dinah's Delight was one of my favourite marches, and the judge made their way out into the centre of the road and motioned for the drum major to bring us to a halt. He then walked around the band, scribbling down notes and God knows what else about us as we played. When we had just finished playing the trio, the first part of the trio, when he motioned to the drum major that we were free to walk on. The drum major kept us marking time until we were ready to repeat the trio. And this would give the judge another chance to hear the parts and hopefully help them make up their mind. We moved off and encountered another 4 judges who stopped us and performed a similar routine. So there are judges for all different types of categories of bands and styles. So there was a good chance of the bands getting mentioned in the placings. I don't really know how they judge the bands or how they determine the marks or anything like that there, but they would need to be good at that if they only stopped us for a few minutes while they walked around making their notes. Was that really enough time for them to make a decision? In Corridor, we arrived at the end of the route and fell out, and some of the older members went looking for a bar, but Alvin and I went looking for something to eat, and tonight we went for burgers as that was the van that was closest to us. There was a decent enough queue, and that was a good sign. If people are waiting, then the food is usually good. Once we had paid for our burgers, we went to find somewhere to stand and watch the other bands arrive at the finishing point. We always wanted to see the melody bands just to hear how well they were playing and to try and weigh up whether we potentially had the better of them that night. It didn't matter what we thought, though. It was the judges with the clipboards who decided that. At the end point of the parade, there was a trailer set up with a table and a whole range of trophies on it. And whenever the last band came in, the judges all gathered together and added up the scores. And a member of the hosting band, well, he started tapping a microphone to see if it was on, and then thanked everybody for turning up, and then got into what we were all waiting for, the results. There was always a good gathering of people for this type of thing, and Alvin and I stood near the front, just in case there was any trophies to pick up. There were prizes for the whole range of bands and styles, first, second, and third place in each of the categories. And some of the categories were straightforward, like, Best Blood and Thunder, Best Accordion, and Best Melody Flute. And then there were prizes for drum corps in each of these categories, and also prizes for best drum major. And then other things like style and appearance, marching and discipline, best visiting band, most entertaining, and the one everyone would want, best overall band. Best overall band would go to the band that had the most best place finishes in their categories. And when it came to melody flute, I could feel myself getting nervous. Where would we place? Would we even place? We had heard our band's name called. We hadn't heard our band's name called for third or second place. So now we were waiting for the announcement of first place. Did we win? Or are we just not good enough on this occasion? The sweat was on. The master of ceremonies took a deep breath and spoke, and the prize for first melody flute goes to, and he paused for what seemed like forever and then declared, Pride of the Raven, East Belfast. Alvin and I just looked at each other and then unashamedly let out the loudest, Yes, we won! And we made our way up through the crowd, half expecting him to part like the Red Sea and to break into a rendition of how great they are to pick up what was one of the biggest trophies on display on the table. It was a large trophy with a gold quaver at the top of it. We shook the guy's hand, accepted the trophy, and headed back to where we had been standing. We were absolutely beaming and buoyed by the expectation that there could be more trophies to follow. And that's exactly what happened. The results just kept coming and coming. Best melody drum corps goes to, style and appearance goes to, melody bass drum goes to, senior bass drum major goes to, best overall band goes to, Pride of the Raven, East Belfast. We had cleaned up, winning absolutely every category we could. I'd never been a part of anything that had won trophies before, and definitely not the number of trophies and shields that Alvin and I were carrying. With every trophy we picked up, we looked to see who the previous winners were, and we kept seeing our name appear elsewhere on the trophy. I was impressed with the amount of organisation that went into these competitions. It must have been expensive too. These trophies didn't look cheap by any manner, and to hand them out every year and then get them back again for the big night 12 months later, well, it just went to show that this was part of a larger community. Tonight, we would just bring the trophies back with us on the bus and put them on display in the band hall. It was different though when we won at a local parade. Alvin and I would leave our ranks and put our flutes in our inside jacket pocket, and we would walk at the very front of the band, showing off the trophies that we had won. The two of us sporting the biggest cheesers as we led our award-winning band back through the streets to our band hall. There was nothing like winning and nothing like losing. Picking up second place just wasn't the same, but it was a trophy nonetheless. And the more we won, the more I felt part of the band. When I had first walked into the hall and saw the trophies, I never thought that I would be contributing to that. But here I was, collecting trophies and adding to the heritage of the band. Most of the time, depending on where the competition was, the band would come back late in the evening, but we didn't come back crazy late. Well, not intentionally anyway. The only person younger than Alvin and me was our cymbal player, but his dad was always there, as was Alvin's, so it was a given that we wouldn't be out the all hours. However, there was this one time we were out supporting a band in Antrim, and as usual, the band had been in touch with my ma just to let her know that there was a possibility we might be back late. The competition went very well. The band had played great around the route, and we'd won a few trophies, which was always good. We got on the bus to travel home, and as usual, the crack on the bus was great. We were driving along and looking out the window, and it was hard to tell where we were. It was pretty dark out. No one really cared though. We had a great parade, and now we were on our way home. About 15 minutes after we left, the bus came to a grinding halt. Everybody looked up to see what was going on, looking out the window to see if there was a police checkpoint or something. And there didn't seem to be a meat wagon or policeman anywhere, and there weren't any blue flashing lights. I wonder what's up here, said Alvin. No idea, I replied. Rigby made his way down the bus towards the driver's seat and had a quick conversation, and then the doors opened and he got off the bus and the driver appeared from his seat. Sorry lads, but it looks like we've broken down here. We're going to have a look and see if there's anything we can do. Hold tight and we'll let you know as soon as possible, okay? Hopefully it's nothing major. He left the bus by the open doors and they closed behind him. At first, I thought it was maybe one of Rigby's practical jokes. I mean, it wouldn't be like him to pull something like this. But after sitting for 15 minutes and no update from the driver, it became clear that this was no practical joke. The bus really had broken down. It was pitch black outside, and everybody was sitting about talking and noticing that the temperature on the bus was rapidly starting to get colder. I wonder what's up with the bus, came a voice from the back. Quick as a flash, Nigel said, "It's broken down," which got more than a few laughs from the lads, but not from Stevie. "No shit, Sherlock. I mean, I wonder what's actually wrong with the bus." "It's not going anywhere. That's what's wrong with the bus." "I know it's not going anywhere. I mean, what exactly is wrong with it?" "Well, I think it might need repaired." I'm sure Stevie regretted opening his mouth now after that little run of responses. "Well, you know what they said? They say," said Terry, "ask a silly question, get a silly answer." Realizing that this was getting him nowhere, Stevie gave up and he turned and looked out the window like everyone else, but everyone else was laughing. Then the doors popped open and the bus driver stood up on one of the steps and peered down the bus. "Right, lads, this bus is going nowhere. I'm going to have to find somewhere that has a phone. We're going to need a replacement bus to get you home." There were numerous groans around the bus. "Listen, lads, it can't be helped. It's not like the driver did this on purpose, said the band captain. With that statement, the mood in the bus changed. There was an acceptance of our fate, and now the focus was keeping warm and making the most of the situation we found ourselves in. I thought to myself, it's a good job this is a Saturday and not a Sunday night. I can imagine my ma going nuts at the thought of me being out late with school waiting for me in the morning. Anyway, depending on how long it takes for the driver to find a phone and a replacement bus to arrive, there's a good chance that she'll be fast asleep by the time we get back. Whatever time that turned out to be now. I needed a plan to get back into the house without waking her up. I figured that I'd just sneak in, sleep on the settee, and she'd be none the wiser. I mean, there's no way I'd make it up 3 flights of stairs without making a noise, and there's no way I was climbing a banister in the dark. We'd been sitting for absolutely ages now, and the mood was still okay, but everyone had had enough of the bus and wanted to get home. "What time's it now, anyway?" asked Alvin. Looking at his watch, Ty replied, 2 o'clock. "Where is this driver? Is he inventing the phone or what? Maybe his sundial doesn't work in the dark. Well, where did you find that joke? A Christmas cracker?" So after about 5 minutes of banter about clocks and the lost driver, the doors in the bus opened again and the driver appeared, and he wasn't immune from the raking. "Well, mate, did you enjoy your holiday? Flight delayed from Spain?" "Yeah, I've had another birthday waiting on you coming back in. Here, they needed to stop at a garage so I can pick up some Grecian 2000. My hair's went grey in here." "Your hair's been grey from when you were born, you hater." The driver ignored the banter, and he obviously wanted to get moving as much as we did. "Sorry about the wait, lads. It just took ages to find somewhere with a phone and then get back to you here. The good news is there's a bus on its way to pick us up, so hopefully we'll be on our way soon enough." "Good job, mate. You didn't think to bring any sandwiches back with you or anything?" "I was too busy eating them myself," said the driver. Alva and I were both absolutely wrecked, but the excitement of being out late did a good job of motivating us to stay awake. But we also had other motivations. So you don't want to fall asleep when you're out with the band because you'd more than likely end up with some new eyebrows or a pen moustache on your face or something else that you wouldn't be aware of until it was too late. Now, all we had to do was wait on the replacement bus arriving and we'd be on our way. The replacement bus eventually arrived and left me outside my door around 3:30 in the morning. As the bus pulled up at my house, I was surprised to see the lights on, and then I saw someone in the front garden, my ma, and she didn't look happy. The band captain got off the bus with me. He was just about to open his mouth, but my ma was straight in there. "What on earth time do you call this?" The band captain had obviously gone through this before. He let my ma say her piece, and then he explained what had happened. "I'm really sorry. We didn't mean to be back this late. The bus broke down not long after we had left the parade. The bus driver tried to fix it, but nothing seemed to work, and he had to go and find a phone, and then we had to wait on a replacement bus. It's not the norm for us, and we usually have him back when we say we will. I'm really sorry." Well, that seemed to do the trick, and my ma's tone eased. "Okay, well, thanks for taking care of him, and I hope you all get home safe." She turned to me and said, "Right, G, get in and get your uniform off and get to bed." I was so glad to get into my own bed. Those bus seats had become pretty uncomfortable throughout the night, and it was great to be able to stretch out and not feel like a squish bun. I don't remember falling asleep, but I woke up half expecting to still be on that bus with the band. What a night, though. Trophies, trouble, and a ticking off. I couldn't wait to tell my mates what time I'd actually got in at. I imagined it would be one of those stories that would get told over and over again. Here, Glenn, tell us about the night you came home at 3:30 in the morning, and I'd recall the events, and everybody would sit in awe. One person who wouldn't sit in awe of that retelling would be my ma. And when I arrived down for breakfast, I was quizzed again on the whole episode. She was obviously looking for gaps in the story. Needless to say, her efforts were futile as I told her the same story over and over. So thankfully, she was pacified enough, and I knew that going to Sunday night practice wasn't in jeopardy. The band captain had asked me at practice if my mom was all right about it all when I arrived later on, and that was that. Competitions made up the vast majority of the parading the band did, and it was great to be out and about all over the place, but it was even better when you walked in your own area. All the local bands ran a competition, and even we did. And in our preparation for ours, we received an invite from the Gertrude Star for a brand new style of competition at our Sunday meeting. I'd just like to read out an invitation from the Gertrude Star, said the secretary. Here, didn't we do their competition already? Aye, I believe we did. I wonder what's wrong. Did somebody not like that we won melody at it then? Well, if you'd all be quiet and let me read the invitation, you'd know what the crack was. All right, no probs. Continue. Well, I'm glad I have your permission. Right, I was settled here. Good, and he went on and read the invitation. To the officers and members of the Pride of the Raven Flute Band, the Gertrude Star are proud to invite you to our very first indoor competition, taking place in the Avenue 1 bar. Each band will play for 15 minutes in their chosen category, and prizes will be awarded for all the usual categories. There will be a door charge of £1 for band members and £3 for the public. We do hope that you'll be able to attend. We would be grateful if you could let us know ASAP if you intend to participate. There were some confused faces during the reading of the letter, and that was expressed verbally almost as soon as the secretary had finished reading the letter out. Indoor? Aye, that's a new one. So is that upstairs in the Avenue 1 then? No idea. It doesn't say, said the secretary. Would need to be though, wouldn't it? I mean, you couldn't swing a cat downstairs in that bar, never mind run a competition. Having never been in the Avenue 1, I hadn't a clue, so I just had to take these guys' word for it. All I knew was that the bar had the reputation for being some kind of tough hangout, and it was also where the Gertrude Star had their practice. A friend of mine from primary school, Stuarty, he had joined the Gertrude, and that's where he had went to learn the flute. He had called to my house a few times to ask me for some notes to tunes. As long as it was just for the wee jigs that we played, I didn't care. Anything else, well, I wouldn't be sharing that. So the conversation continued about this strange new indoor competition. So do we have to stand up or sit down for it? Again, no idea. I read out the letter that was sent. I didn't leave anything out. All right, don't get your knickers in a twist like. Right, are there any proposals on this one then? The question was just kind of thrown out there as the secretary didn't seem sure what kind of response was going to come back. I don't think anyone knew what to make of it, to be fair. Well, I think we should do it if we get more information about what they actually want. Like, are there time slots or something? I mean, we've kids in the band. We really can't have them hanging out in the Avenue 1 until all hours. Like, well, that's true. We wouldn't want them to miss out either. Right. We'll get in touch with the Gertrude and find out more. And if it's all good, are we up for going then? There was a general consensus that this was okay with everyone. The nodding of heads and affirmative grunts giving the secretary his cue to continue on with the meeting. I went home from practice that night and I thought about this new indoor competition. Who would judge it? And where would they judge? Because usually on these competition parades, you didn't know where the judges would be. You just had to be on your game the whole way around the route. This was different, very different. I wasn't sure whether I liked the idea or not. I don't know why. It wasn't like I was afraid that the band wouldn't perform well, but it would definitely sound different inside a bar instead of on the streets. At the following week's practice, we all awaited anticipation for the details regarding this new type of contest. But before the excitement of that transpired, at the start of the meeting, there was an announcement made that Ian Parkhill had left the band. Parky was a great wee flute player, and I was kind of shocked to hear this. Has he joined someone else? I asked, the obvious question to those gathered. Initially, there was a moment of silence. Maybe nobody knew. Maybe there was some other reason behind it. Then Terry responded, I've no idea. All I know is that he's left. Seems a bit strange, though, doesn't it? Yeah, definitely. Great wee fluter. Well, someone will need to get his uniform off him. Right, I'll arrange that, said Stevie. His gear's bound to fit Glenn, though, isn't it? Aye, right enough. Here, fancy getting rid of that jumper, Glenn, and getting a full uniform? Of course, was my reply. While I was sad that Parky had left, the silver lining was that I would get a full uniform now. Not that I hated wearing the jumper, I was just glad to be out walking with the band, but now I'd look the same as everyone else, decked out in the band's maroon and blue jacket. I'll get them dry cleaned for the next practice and you can try it on then, Glenn said Stevie. Great. I couldn't wait now. Now that that had been sorted, it was time to move on. And the next thing on the agenda at the meeting was the secretary giving an update on the indoor competition that we had been invited to. Well, lads, I've been in touch with the Gertrude about this indoor contest of theirs and let them know with a few questions about it, how it's going to run. So here's what they told me, and I'd appreciate it if you let me finish before you start asking any questions, okay? There was nods of agreement, and with the sign of consent, the secretary told us what he had been told. Bands will play upstairs. The dance floor area will be where the bands are expected to perform. All bands are expected to stand. There will be time slots available, and kids will be okay in the venue until 10 p.m. They hope to have the melody results announced by then, as they want melody bands on first and Blood and Thunder bands afterward. Well, that doesn't sound too bad now, does it? It'll be different, I'll give you that, but it should be good. Aye, another opportunity for us to bring a few trophies back. Who else is taking part melody-wise? There's a few confirmed, said the secretary. The UVF band, the Defenders, and us. That's it? Just 3 bands? Hardly a competition then, is it? All the better for us then. So what are we going to play? Terry piped up. Well, I believe that this will be a good opportunity for us to try new tunes that we've been learning over the last wee while and for us to polish up on parts for a few of our strong marches, and we can go in with a few solid programs. Alvin and I just looked at it. New tunes. I know, happy days. I can't wait to play them in public. We're going to blow people away. The new tunes have been coming on well. One in particular, Queen of Battle, was quite difficult to play, but we've been making steady progress with it. Alvin and I already had memorized. Now that we weren't working against the list, we were learning whatever new tunes Terry was bringing to the band. Okay, that's settled. I let the Gert know we'll be there, and from next week and start working on the program that Terry decides on. Okay? There was a unanimous agreement in the room, and that was that. We were going to be taking part in our very first indoor competition, and we were going to be playing some new tunes. I couldn't wait. And I knew I'd have to practice hard and make sure there was no chance of any mistakes. Terry had picked out 7 great tunes for us to play, strong tunes with good parts that would give us the best possible chance of winning this indoor, although nothing was guaranteed. It all depended on the judge in the night. We played the program over and over again at practice, with Terry stopping us whenever there was something he wanted to work on or if he had heard something that wasn't quite right. On the night of the first practice for this indoor, he had said something that made everybody take notice. This won't be like the road lads. You won't be able to drop out if you don't know all of the tune, especially with us playing more parts in these tunes. If you drop out, it's going to become noticeable. At least on the road we can carry it, but you're not going to get away with it indoor. There was nothing that escaped Terry's notice when it came to the flutes. He knew what he wanted to hear and where he wanted the band to go musically. Terry was introducing more counterparts to marches to develop the band's sound even further, and he knew that we couldn't just be carrying anyone. He worked as hard in the run-up to that competition to the point where he didn't have to say anything. We knew whether we had met his standard or not, and by the time the night of the competition came around, we were as ready as we could be. Parky's uniform had been brought up to the hall for me to try on after it hadn't been dry cleaned, and the jacket just seemed to fit me perfectly. The trousers would need let down a wee bit, but my mum could handle that, and I now had a full uniform, and I'd be wearing it at the indoor competition. So I'm just going to leave the reading there, all right, and hopefully that's give you a wee bit of an insight into some of the things that marching bands get up to in regards to competitions, how they practice, the meetings that they take place, how they make decisions and everything. And it does give, for me, it does give a good understanding and representation of what marching bands are all about. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you maybe got something for it. I hope it does provide you with a level of understanding. And just to say that I am going to plug the book again. If you liked what you heard there, remember the book Made to Parade is available on Amazon, UK, and all across the world. So if you're listening to this from somewhere else on the planet, the book is available on all Amazon sites, and the delivery time on it is usually around about 2 to 3 days. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for listening in, and I hope you all have a great weekend and enjoy the other online events that are a part of Good Relations Week. So have a good one and all the best.